Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Thursday, July 31st, 2025. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today are Bishop Robert Griffin, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall. We are the Queer God Squad. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world.
In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots magazine, the 5th anniversary of Queer News Tonight, with nearly 10,000 stories and 10 million views in 2024. We produced the 25th anniversary of the Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival on June 14th. Pride fed Diversity Pride in August and Pride Fort Lauderdale next February.
We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Let's pay tribute to Saint Oscar Wilde, patron of ribald wit and the subversive arts. Oscar Wilde's life and literary legacy are inextricably linked to his homosexuality, a facet that defined both his triumphs and tragedies in Victorian England. A brilliant wit, playwright, and poet, Wilde captivated society with his aesthetic philosophy and subversive intelligence. However, his open defiance of the era's strict moral codes regarding sexuality ultimately led to his becoming a social pariah. Wilde's relationship with men, most notably Lord Alfred Douglas, were an open secret in certain circles. His infamous trials in 1895, stemming from a libel suit he brought against Douglas's father, spectacularly exposed his private life. Charged with gross indecency, Wilde was convicted and sentenced to 2 years hard labor. This period profoundly impacted him, inspiring works such as De Profundis that reflect on his suffering and society's hypocrisy. Despite his personal devastation, Wilde's persecution became a landmark moment in the history of gay rights. His courage, even in the face of public humiliation and imprisonment, subtly challenged the repressive norms of his time. Today, Oscar Wilde is remembered not just for his enduring literary masterpieces, but also as a poignant symbol of the struggles and injustices faced by LGBTQ+ individuals. His personal heartaches illuminated broader societal prejudices and paved the way, however incrementally, for future liberation. There are so many layers to why he's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
God.
One is that he was a genius, so there's that. But that he used art so brilliantly, like artists have always had to. How he was able to express the depth of his feeling and creativity and his disdain for Victorian morals was through art. Art always challenges, always pushes the edge. This whole idea that there is this self that you present that's all beautiful and whatever, but meanwhile hidden as a thing that's just getting more and more difficult to deal with and look at, hidden in the attic of your mind or whatever. That is such a great metaphor for being in the closet. That here you're presenting this, but meanwhile in the dark recesses of being hidden away, you're just getting sicker and paler and frailer. And so he actually used stories like that to come out as much as he could.
Yes.
While also living pretty much out loud, but in a ghettoized sort of way. So it's an open secret. You couldn't really sort of nail him down. And what brought him down was that Lord Alfred's father, the Marquis of, was it Salisbury? Known for his steaks. No, I don't know. I think it was, I think it might have been the Marquis. Anyway, a nobleman. He publicly accused him of buggery or, whatever. And so he felt like he was compelled, for honor's sake, to refute that, but he had lived too openly that it was stupid to refute it public, to sue him for libel, because that was going to bring his whole life out in the open. But at the same time, he felt compelled to, because to not is also sort of an admission, and so he was sort of trapped by that. And then the 2 years in prison really broke him.
Yeah,
he was never the same after that. He didn't live much long after that, and but another sort of I don't know if it's a dichotomy, if it's just the both and of queer living. He was as irreverent as he was also very religious, particularly at the end. I think he had been Anglican and converted to Catholicism at the end. Even though the Catholic Church would be horrified by almost everything he did and thought and believed and stood for, and yet that's what he wanted to be. He wanted to be Catholic at the end. So just these, you can't pin a queer personality down. And I love that. So he's irreverent, but he's religious. There's one religion particularly would hate him. That's the one he's got to be part of. He uses his art to push against society, and that I really believe he was madly in love with Lord Douglas, Alfred Douglas, and he was also sort of abused by him. Like his younger lover was crazy and spoiled and self-indulgent and took advantage of him. And so there was this love, but also not a healthy situation. And that is another sort of both and of Wilde, that he was very loving as much as he was very libertine. That he's this party animal. He's hiring sex boys and prostitutes, and going to all the parties, and he's doing all of this, and yet he really was madly in love with someone. So yeah, he's just all over the place, and that unfettered hugeness comes out in his art, in his plays, in his novels, in his poems. So yeah, when I say saint Oscar, I mean that. I mean that he is bigger. His story is just bigger than. You have to mythify him. He's got to be a saint or a hero or a deity or something. He's got to be larger than life because his life was larger than life.
Nice.
I think of all the kids who read about Oscar Wilde or read his work or study some of his stuff, like they find themselves in his work also. And I think that's probably a coming out phase for them to say, here's this guy who endured all of this for the sake of, here's how he had to live under these circumstances, and he was still true to himself as much as he could possibly be. And I think for gay kids coming out, it's also finding your place to be true to yourself also, and living your life authentically as possible. Because we have saints like these who have gone before us to make it a little bit better for us today. And so I think this is one of those proven saints that really will stand the test of time about what it means to live your best self.
And what he communicated was subliminal, I think, to gay people too.
Right.
Because I loved the Dorian Gray, the Portrait of Dorian, forever.
Yes.
But I was quite a bit older before I realized why.
Is that what you was looking up over there?
No. I wrote it down earlier.
Wrote it down.
But somehow I was drawn to it before I intellectually could figure out all the nuances. I felt it. I felt that's my story somehow.
Yeah.
So,
Right. And when I think of Oscar Wilde, and you said it so well, defiant, openly defiant. I am going to live my life openly and authentically as much as I can. And now you look back and how it helps so many people. I mean, let's face it, we've all read a bit of Oscar Wilde in school or whatever else.
Yeah.
And if you can find those little subtexts, if you can find those little nuances to the story, it's like, okay, he was absolutely one of us.
Yeah.
I remember reading The Picture of Dorian Gray when I was in probably grade school. So why did that, it's rhetorical, why did that story resonate so deeply in my soul?
Yeah.
Here you have this person who has this picture hidden in an attic while he's out there living his life any way he wants as the picture continues to deteriorate. What does that have to do with being queer? I don't know, but I do know that when I read that story, and I couldn't have been more than 12 years old, I was like, this is me. This is how I feel about the world. How I present myself to the world at 12 is not the way I feel inside of me. So for him to be able to...
And that tarnishes the real you inside.
Yes, it does.
You can't come out
It
and
burns
live
you up. So just to know that, and it was alluded as we were reading the book that Wilde probably liked men more than he liked women. And I was like, wow, then hey, this definitely is speaking to my soul.
The court trial is a matter of public record.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm in the 6th grade, and we're not talking about court trials, and we're not talking about sexuality. And still, I'm like, yeah, that me. That me.
Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, I want to invite you to like and share this episode on your social media, and I also welcome you to find Sunshine Cathedral on Facebook or Instagram.
You can also like our bishops' pages on Facebook. My page is Bishop Robert Griffin, D-Men, and Darrell's is Bishop Darrell Watkins, D-Men. We're also on TikTok. Remember to visit sunshinecathedral.org frequently. There you will also find Bishop Talk, where Bishop Darrell and I interview queer religious leaders, activists, and scholars. We've also added a weekly lectionary discussion that you can find on the website and on the social medias.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we are all in this together, and also remember, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Bye.